The Lambton Worm is a legend from County Durham in northeast England in the UK. The story takes place around the River Wear and is one of the area's most famous pieces of folklore, having been adapted from written and oral tradition into pantomime and song formats. The story revolves around John Lampton, an heir of the Lampton estate, County Durham, and his battle with a giant worm or dragon that had been terrorizing the local villagers. As with most myths, details of the story change with each telling. The story states that the young John Lampton was a rebellious character who missed church one Sunday to go fishing in the River Wear. In many versions of the story, whilst walking to the river or setting up his equipment, John receives warnings from an old man or a witch, depending on who tells the story, that no good can come from missing church. John Lampton does not catch anything until a church service finishes, at which point he fishes out a small eel or lamprey-like creature with 9 holes on each side of its salamander-like head. Depending on the version of the story, the worm is no bigger than a thumb, or about 3 feet 90 centimeters long. In some renditions it has legs, while in others it's said to more closely resemble a snake. At this point, the old man returns, although in some versions it is a different character. John declares that he has caught the devil and decides to dispose of his catch by discarding it down a nearby well. The old man then issues further warnings about the nature of the beast. John then forgets about the creature and eventually grows up. As a penance for his rebellious early years, he joins the Crusades. Because the story is often said to have taken place in the 14th century, he likely fought in the Barbary Crusade. Eventually, the worm grows extremely large and the well becomes poisonous. The villagers start to notice livestock going missing and discover that the fully grown worm has emerged from the well and coiled itself around a local hill. Earlier and local versions of the legend associate the hill with Worm Hill in Fatfield. In most versions of the story, the worm is large enough to wrap itself around the hill 7 times. It is said that one can still see the marks of the worm on Worm Hill. However, in the later song, the hill is Penshaw Hill, on which the Penshaw Monument now stands. The worm terrorizes the nearby villagers, eating sheep, preventing cows from producing milk and snatching away small children. It then heads towards Lampton Castle, where the Lord, John Lampton's aged father, manages to sedate the creature in what becomes a daily ritual of offering the worm the milk of 9 good cows, 20 gallons, or a filled wooden stone trough. A number of brave villagers try to kill the beast, but are quickly dispatched. When a chunk is cut off the worm, it simply reattaches the missing piece. Visiting knights also try to assault the beast, but none survive. When annoyed, the worm uproots trees by coiling its tail around them, then creates devastation by waving around the uprooted trees like a club. After 7 years, John Lampton returns from the Crusades to find his father's estates almost destitute because of the worm. John decides to fight it, but first seeks the guidance of a wise woman or a witch near Durham. The witch hardens John's resolve to kill the beast by explaining his responsibility for the worm. She tells him to cover his armor in spearheads and fight the worm in the River Wear, where it now spends its days wrapped around a great rock. The witch also tells John that after killing the worm, he must then kill the first living thing he sees, or else his family will be cursed for 9 generations and will not die in their beds. John prepares his armor according to the witch's instructions and arranges with his father that, when he has killed the worm, he will sound his hunting horn 3 times. On this signal, his father is to release his favorite hound so that it will run to John, who can then kill the dog and thus avoid the curse. John Lampton fights the worm by the river. The worm tries to crush him, wrapping him in its coils, but it cuts itself on his arm as spikes. The pieces of the worm fall into the river and are washed away before they can join up again. Eventually, the worm is dead, and John sounds his hunting horn 3 times. Unfortunately, John's father is so excited that the beast is dead that he forgets to release the hound and rushes out to congratulate his son. John cannot bear to kill his father, and so, after they meet, the hound is released and dutifully dispatched. But it is too late, and 9 generations of Lamptons are cursed, so they shall not die peacefully in their beds. Thus, the story ends. The curse seems to have held true for at least 3 generations, possibly helping to contribute to the popularity of the story. The first generation, Robert Lampton, drowned at Newrig. Second, William Lampton, a colonel, killed at Marsden Moor. Third, William Lampton, died in battle at Wakefield. 9th, Henry Lampton, died in his carriage crossing Lambton Bridge, 22nd of June, 1761. The story was made into a song, written in 1867 by C.M. Lamoon, which passed into oral tradition and has several different variants. It features several words only found in the Northumberland dialect.
Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell yous all an awful story. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell you the one. One Sunday morn, young Lampton went fishing in the weir. He catched a fish up on his yoke, he thought it awfully queer. Know what a kind of fish it was, young Lampton couldn't tell. He hadn't fashed to carry it, yem, so he hid it to no well. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell yous all an awful story. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell you but the one. No Lamptonese inclined to gun, he'd frightened foreign wars. He joined a troop at knights that cared for neither wounds nor scars. Off he went to Palestine, where queer things him befell. He very soon forgot all about that funny one, do know well. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell you all an awful story. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell you but the one. With a worm he growed, he growed, he growed, he growed at an awful size. He'd a great big heel, he'd big gob, he'd big goggly eyes. And when it meet, he crawled about to pick up bits of news. The favour dry upon the road, he milked a dozen cows. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell yous all an awful story. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell you but the one. Now the news of this most awful war and his queer gannons on soon crossed the seas and got to the lugs of Bowden, brave Sir John. So back he come from Palestine, he cut it in 3 halves, and that put pay to eating all them bens and sheep and calves. Wisht, lads, had your gob, I'll tell yous all an awful story. Wisht, lads, had your gobs, I'll tell you but the one. Well, now you know how all the folk on both sides of the weir lost lots of sheep and lots of sleep and lived in mortal fear. So let's have one to brave Sir John, kept the bends from harm, save goose and calves by making arms of the famous Lampton Worm. Wish, lads, I've had me gob, I've tell yous all an awful story of Sir John's clever job in the awful Lampton Worm.
Bram Stoker's 1911 novel The Lair of the White Worm was based on the Lambton Worm legend. The Lambton Worm is also an opera in 2 acts by the composer Robert Shirlaw Johnson. The Lewis Carroll poem Jabberwocky was also based or inspired by the legend of the Lambton Worm. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next one.